Welcome back to another episode here in the Cozy Kitchen. Today we are making stuffed peppers. I got a call from my sister-in-law, Monse. Hi, Monse. A couple weeks ago, she said, "Do you have a recipe for stuffed peppers?" Of course I do. But I did not have it on the YouTube channel yet. And what better time than now to put it on the YouTube channel? In fact, while we're talking about the YouTube channel, take a moment. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and stick around because we have a lot of recipes here on the channel. And I hope you like today's recipe because today we are making stuffed peppers. Now, stuffed peppers is something that I grew up eating. My mom used to make them. My grandmother would make them. You know, we typically stuff them with rice, some sort of ground meat, and then finish it off in a tomato sauce, maybe a little Parmesan cheese, something like that. It was sort of more of an Italian-based stuffed pepper. Today, I'm going to be making more of a Tex-Mex style stuffed pepper. I'm excited about it. We're going to get some ground turkey cooking with some black beans and a red enchilada sauce. We're going to bake it in the oven, melt some cheese on top, get some elote going in a chipotle mayo. It's all going to come together. So let's get to it. Let's make some stuffed peppers. Just to give you an idea of what is going on right now in the Cozy Kitchen, I have my oven. It's been preheating at 400 degrees. The very first thing that we're going to do for our stuffed peppers, we're going to roast our red bell peppers. I have 2 red bell peppers. For today's recipe, I'm just going to be making 2 stuffed peppers, but the stuffing itself that we're going to be making in this video and that you see is enough to stuff 4 red bell peppers. So if you have the family to feed, or if you're having people over, then you will have enough stuffing for 4. I always like to have a little bit more just to have in the fridge going into the week and just having some leftovers. That way, if you need a quick and healthy meal, you can just have some of the stuffing, maybe with a roasted vegetable, something like that, and it's delicious. So let's roast our red bell peppers. I have a tray lined here with some parchment paper. We're just going to lay our red bell peppers flat here on the tray, put them in the oven at 400 degrees, get them roasting for about 20 minutes or so. And once our stuffing is ready, we'll stuff those peppers. So my red bell peppers are now in the oven. Over on the stove, I have a medium saute pan with a little bit of depth to it. I added about 2 tablespoons or so of olive oil into that pan and raised the heat to medium high. While that oil raises in temperature, we are going to dice up 1 small sweet onion. And then once that oil is fragrant, we will add our onion into the oil. Be sure once you add that onion in to hit it with just a pinch of kosher salt and give that all a toss. While that onion sautés in that pan, you're going to want to grab 1 garlic clove, mince it up, and we're going to add that garlic clove into the onion after about 2 to 3 minutes. After you've added in that garlic, you just want to make sure that you toss that all around with the onion in that oil. After that garlic has been in that pan for about a minute or so, we're going to add in our 1 pound of ground turkey as well as our spice mixture. Our spice mixture today, which is going to help season our meat, is going to be 1 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and then a half a teaspoon of coriander, cayenne, paprika, dried oregano, and garlic powder. We're going to add in our spice mixture on top of that ground meat, hit it with just a pinch of kosher salt, and then you want to break that meat up and get it sauteing in that pan with the onions and the garlic. So now that our meat is cooking away in that pan, the next thing that you're going to want to grab is a half a cup of white rice. You're going to want a small pot. We're just going to add that half a cup of white rice into the small pot. We're going to add this pot to the stove, hit it with a pinch of kosher salt, add 1 cup of water, raise the heat to high. Once everything in this pot starts to bubble, we're then going to drop the heat to a simmer, put the lid on, and just let it cook for about 20 minutes. A lot of people get intimidated when it comes to cooking rice. All you have to do is double the amount of liquid that you have for the rice. So if you have 1 cup of rice, you want 2 cups of water. We're using a half a cup of rice today, so I'm going to be using 1 cup of water. I have my rice on the stove. It's going, it's simmering over that low heat. That'll be ready in about 20 minutes. My timer just went off for my red bell peppers. We're going to take those red bell peppers out of the oven and then set them aside in a paper bag. I just have a paper bag from the grocery store. I'm just going to wrap them up in that, set it aside. You could also use like a little lunch bag, whatever you have. It's just going to make for peeling the red bell peppers easier in a little bit. If you don't have a bag, what you can instead do is just get a bowl, put the peppers in a bowl, and then saran wrap the top and just let them be for about 20 minutes or so until we're ready to stuff them. So our red bell peppers are set aside. They're cooling down. One thing we don't want to cool down is our oven. So the red bell peppers just came out of the oven. Keep the oven on. We actually want to raise the temperature to 425. We're going to be using the oven again very soon. In the meantime, we're going to go over to our ground turkey, which is just about cooked at this point. We're going to add in a half of a 15-ounce can of black beans that I've already drained, get that all going, and then we're going to add in our special ingredient, the enchilada sauce. I just added my black beans in with that ground turkey. It is now time to add in our red enchilada sauce. So I have a 30-28 I have a 28-ounce can of red enchilada sauce. We are gonna add in a half of a can of this red enchilada sauce into that pan with the ground turkey and the beans. A lot of the flavors that you're gonna find in a red enchilada sauce, we've actually already seasoned the ground turkey with. So if anything, it's just gonna enhance all those flavors, and it's just gonna add a whole new layer of depth into every bite when we go in for it later. Let's add that red enchilada sauce into that pan with the ground turkey and the black beans and get it all cooking in that delicious sauce. After you've added in that red enchilada sauce, you're gonna raise the heat to high. As soon as it starts to bubble, we're then gonna drop the heat to a simmer and put the lid on and allow the ground turkey, the beans to just cook in that red enchilada sauce until we're ready to stuff our peppers. In the meantime, we can work on our elotes. Elotes are like a Mexican street corn loaded with tortilla cheese, a little bit of mayonnaise, some lime juice, all the good things. For our elotes today, we're going to be roasting our corn kernels in the oven. That oven should already be warm at 425 degrees. No need to be wasteful. We can actually just use the same tray with the parchment paper that we roasted our red bell peppers on earlier. After you drain that can of corn, you can then pour one 15-ounce can of the corn kernels right on the tray. You want to hit that corn with a teaspoon or so of paprika, a pinch of kosher salt, a little bit of olive oil. You can toss it all around with your hands and then get that roasting in the oven. Just as I was adding my corn into the oven, my timer for my rice went off. My rice is nice and fluffy, just how you want it. We're gonna add this half a cup of cooked rice right into that pan with the ground turkey, the black beans, and the enchilada sauce. So once you've added in that rice with the ground turkey and the black beans in that sauce, you can turn the heat off. Just make sure to mix that rice in with all of the other ingredients to make it nice and cohesive. That's gonna be our stuffing for our stuffed peppers. Speaking of stuffed peppers, it is now time to grab your stuffed peppers that have been cooling down. We just want to carefully remove the outer layer that sort of wilted away when we roasted them in the oven. We're going to chop the very top off where the stem is and then scoop out any of the seeds. You want to be as careful as you can not to break up the integrity of the red bell pepper because again, we're going to be stuffing them. You're going to want one small to medium baking dish. We're going to line the very bottom with about a tablespoon or two of that red enchilada sauce, and we want to set the red bell peppers upright in our baking dish. We're going to stuff those peppers as much as we can to the very top. When you're stuffing those peppers, you want to make sure that you stuff them as much as you can, okay? I want the stuffing to be at the very top. Once those peppers are stuffed, we're then going to top them with a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese. How much shredded cheddar cheese is completely up to you. I do about 1/4 cup on each pepper. We're going to add these stuffed peppers into the oven and get them roasting until that cheese melts right on top. While I was in there, my deconstructed elotes were ready to come out. In a small bowl, I'm going to mix up a 1/2 cup of tortilla cheese as well as a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise and 2 tablespoons of chipotle and adobo sauce. And then we're going to throw our corn into that bowl, toss it all, and that's going to be our topping for our stuffed peppers, which we can then just set aside. So finally, our stuffed peppers are going to be served over a little bit of shredded cabbage, which I just quickly dressed with about a teaspoon of olive oil, 1/2 teaspoon of red wine vinegar, the juice of 1 lime, as well as a teaspoon of maple syrup. I toss that all together, and that's just going to bring an element of brightness and sweetness to the dish, balance out all the other ingredients. We can set this aside as well. I just checked my stuffed peppers. The cheese has melted right on top. It is time to take those stuffed peppers out of the oven and get to plating. When you take the stuffed peppers out of the oven, you want to portion out that cabbage and then rest that stuffed pepper right on top. You then want to hit it with that elote that we mixed with the chipotle mayo and the tortilla cheese. You can put that all around. I actually had some leftover tortilla chips as well, which we never have in the house. And I figured why not, for a little bit of extra texture, crumble up some tortilla chips and put those right on top. And this is going to make for a really nice, really satisfying meal that everyone in the house is going to enjoy. The recipe is healthy, it's filling, it's going to be a crowd pleaser, that is for sure. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video and follow along with me in these recipes. This recipe in particular is definitely one for the books. I'm going to dive in. If you are looking for the step-by-step on how to make this recipe as well as others, head to my website. The link is right at the bottom of this video. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and then go make yourself some delicious stuffed peppers. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you very soon.